If you don't have an invitation, you cannot enter the city. I can ask one question and then I'll try to answer it, because usually people ask me all this time, Anton, can you get me an invitation to World Economic Forum? And let me tell you honestly.
Welcome to a new episode. Happy that you're here, my friend. How are you doing?
I'm doing amazing. Welcome back, everyone. And always great to see you, Farouk, and everybody who's watching. And so many things happening in the world. Farouk, what are we talking about today? The best one, the biggest one.
Today we are going to talk about the topic which is really globally well seen, the World Economic Forum.
In Switzerland, where you are, right? In Davos.
Exactly, in Davos. I have never been there. How about you?
I have been to Davos and I have been to World Economic Forum several times. And I can tell you all about the experiences. I'm sure like the audience knows it. How is it to be around all of these big politicians, big entrepreneurs, CEOs? It's an amazing experience. I think a lot of people don't know. So Davos is a small village, 3 hours by train. I don't know, maybe a bit less by cars from Zurich, right? So it's a bit south, right? It's in the mountains. There's nothing happening in that city, town, village, except World Economic Forum. That's, how I know Davos, actually. But I've been there when it's not the forum, which is then it's very quiet, you can imagine. Right?
When have you been there?
I've been there for the first time in 2018, then 2019, then 2020, before COVID. We all got the worst flu of our lives in Davos. Yes.
Really?
We all had I cannot tell you was it COVID or not, but I specifically remember I got the worst flu of my life in 2020 in Davos. Then 2021, it was not happening because we were still having restrictions. They were talking about doing it in the summer of 2021. It didn't happen. And then I was in 2022, 2023. But then last 2 years, I didn't go, prefer to stay here in Dubai.
Amazing.
Yes.
Before we are jumping into the experience, let's talk about how you get there.
You only get there if you're invited. And now let me explain to you like what that means.
So this means
you
you're
need to get an
person.
invitation from someone who is either part of the organization there, or either who is organizing an event there, or who invited you to speak at an event, or some combination of that. And what I mean is like you need to get an invitation. If you don't have an invitation, you cannot enter the city. So this is basically what it means. When you want to enter the city, there's like gates or places where you need to pass through. They do like the check there. Are you carrying something you're not supposed to carry with you? And then if you want to enter the city, you need to have an invitation. And then that invitation gets you into the city, right? And then you're part of the World Economic Forum, right? Like practically what it means is like somebody invites you. I was usually invited there. And I was usually speaking there as well, participating in events as well. And I remember like the way it works is like you get an invitation and then you need to go to click on this link and then you actually submit your private information and then they do a background check on you. And when they say everything is fine with you, then you get a formal invitation that you can actually enter the city during World Economic Forum. Back in the day when I went for the first time, the most important thing was to get invitations so you can enter the city, because back then there was not a lot of controls where you went. So you could go to all the they have like this concept of houses. Really, companies or governments, they rent a house and then within the house they have their space and then they invite people, you can go inside and things like that. Or within a hotel, you can have lobbies or conference rooms where there are events happening, meetings are happening. And back in the day, you could go pretty much anywhere you wanted if you got an invitation. Afterwards, a few years later, that got very much more strict. And you can usually then, when you get an invitation to World Economic Forum, you can usually only enter into the buildings where either you are invited to be part of a meeting, part of an event, or speak, but otherwise you're not allowed to enter.
Why happened that?
It was after Trump got elected, to be honest. So after he got elected, then things got more and more strict. This was my impression, right? I don't know if it was because of Trump, but that was like the coincidenting factor, right? And I do remember like that killed all the fun of World Economic Forum for me personally. Because back in the day, like I have an unbelievable story. In 2018, we were having dinner with Theresa May, which was back then, she was the Prime Minister of UK, of England, right? And I just remember a lady came over to say hi. I turned around and shook the hand and I didn't even notice. And my friend was like, no, do you know who this is? This is Theresa May. And I was like, whoa, actually it is, right? And we were all in the same restaurant having a dinner because we were part of some gathering, right? But it was very spontaneous. Like I was invited on the spot to come and join. You could do things, a lot of things very spontaneously. And that was the fun of World Economic Forum. That is not like this the case today. It's a lot more strict.
Very interesting. For those who don't know what the World Economic Forum is about,
Awesome.
how was How would you describe the World Economic Forum in simple words?
World Economic Forum is a secret, and I'm just joking. It's a gathering of the world's leaders, politicians, entrepreneurs, founders, CEOs, religious leaders, all the people who are kind of the movers and shakers. They gather at the World Economic Forum, usually in a spirit of discussion, in a spirit of meeting the right people, seeing what are the latest trends, showcasing what are the latest trends, what are the most important topics in the world, and then having a discussion, having a connection, building friendships, and building contacts and bonds that carry for the whole life. But in a sense, it's like, I mean, this is like a very fancy way of saying it's like powerful people gather together and talk. This is a blunt explanation of what it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting. Very
Yeah.
interesting. And do you think it has an impact globally?
Yes and no. No, I'll explain no. No, in a sense, because the leaders of the world can meet whenever they want, however they want, for whatever topic they have in mind, because when world's peace or world's progress or key matters of the world are at stake, the key people can gather together and they can discuss and they can make decisions. So in that sense, it's not important, right? But yes, in a sense that you can really connect with the people who are leading within their industries, within their fields, and you gather them all together at the same place. So it's like this melting pot of amazing ideas, power, provocative thoughts, right? And people maybe who don't see things eye to eye, they're all gathered together. And that is like the important part. But I don't want to oversell it. I mean, it's a, secret society style get together. But in the end, it's just people coming together and hopefully doing something good.
Amazing. Amazing. And it's taking place in Switzerland. There was 2-3 years ago, a thought about to move the World Economic Forum to Singapore for several reasons. Do you know why it's taking place in Switzerland and especially in Davos?
So it was organized or set up by a person called Charles Schwab, who I don't know exactly the reasons. I remember I was reading about it, but I think he was the initiator of the World Economic Forum. Initially, it was just leaders like politicians and leaders who gathered there. And I don't know I think it emerged a little bit before Second World War, but I think that's like where my memory is kind of a little bit off, I think it was because Switzerland was like a place of neutrality for a long, long time in history, right? And that's the reason. Now, what you're describing for Singapore, that was in 2021, when the question was, do we want to do it in Switzerland because of COVID or not? Or maybe Singapore is an alternative location, but that never happened. Basically, in 2021, you didn't have World Economic Forum, but these ideas and thoughts around do we do it again in Switzerland or in Singapore were discussed, but it's in Switzerland still.
Amazing. Thank you for giving us these details. I would like to ask you about which famous persons you met there back then you joined.
Wow. Okay. I mean, the one person that I remember that I met very, very spontaneously, because we were just in the same lobby, like at the hotel. I finished my speech, a panel, and I just remembered it was a bit of a coincidence because I think the security of that person didn't understood, was I part of the group that the president of Turkey had to meet or not? So they kind of told me, yeah, kind of let's and I needed a break, and I wanted to sit down. And I remember like I was all of a sudden, I was sitting together with the president of Turkey, his entourage, if I can say it like that. And I think he was expecting to meet someone, I think from Europe, whoever was the representative of Europe. And we were there together. And I remember like I had some friends with me who were from Turkey, and they were so excited, and I was excited as well. I think I was the only brave one to ask a question, But I want to emphasize, so I gave an example of I was an opportunity to meet the president of the Turkey, but Davos is the only place and World Economic Forum, the only place in the world during those few days where you can go and talk to president of US, CEO of Amazon, CEO Jeffrey Morgan, and they will welcome your thoughts, they will welcome you, they will welcome your questions, and they will welcome the discussion. This is very rare. So that's what makes World Economic Forum so special. But I mean, I can tell you, Farouk, I mean, I met so many people that, they are completely out of mind. That's a normal person, or even a normal person like me could meet them, right? And I have a long list, but I think that one was the most impressive,
Amazing. Amazing. So we know that you are a very, very important person. So you are a special VIP guest.
Yeah. Tell that to World Economic Forum so they keep inviting me every year.
What do you think about the thought that the global leaders are speaking about climate change and all this, but most of them are going with private jets there?
Yeah, so that is the case. You see many people, and it's not just the politicians or the leaders who come there with private jets. Also, people who, for many different reasons, who fly from abroad, they're very busy. They come there with a private jet. You can actually, there's a way how to get there, basically with a small airplane, right? Look, it's one thing is what you speak, the other thing is what you do. I think there's a disconnect there. So, just to explain, most people come to World Economic Forum to Davos. They come by train. Why? Not because we love train, because it's the most convenient. So actually, you land in Zurich usually, where you have the airport, and then you go by train. It's like 3 hours basically. With you switch trains a couple of times, and you come to Davos. By the way, it's a beautiful train ride because you're in the mountains. It's all like usually covered with snow. It's beautiful, so it's a nice 3-hour ride. You can again meet very cool people on the train. Don't underestimate the train. But that's how most people get there. It doesn't matter how important or not important you might think you are, but that's how most people get there. Very few people come there by private jets, but it's a disconnect then to tell other people don't travel so much when they travel with private jets. It's a disconnect.
And do you think that crypto has the attention today in the World Economic Forum space?
Yes, but I think it's manufactured. The glory days of crypto at World Economic Forum were in 2018. I mean, we were the superstars. And you have to understand, this was the one of these bull markets, end of 2017, early 2018. Bitcoin was flying to 20,000. Oh my God! I wish we could today buy crypto 20,000. We were the superstars. Everybody was talking about these cool young people doing something with crypto. Nobody understood what crypto is, and it was unbelievable. You mentioned the word crypto. We were amazing. 2019, there was a reality check because obviously crypto prices were down. A lot of projects showed that they couldn't deliver. And I think after that, it was just less cool, less novel, less interesting. Last time when I went to World Economic Forum, AI is the new kid on the block, the cool one. Crypto is not anymore. And what I mean by manufactured, today you have panels where you have the central banker of France, you have the CEO of biggest banks, and then they put a crypto guy there. It's amazing that they do that, but this is manufactured. And by the way, this is also constructed in a little bit because there's ways how you can get there, and then you're on the main stage of World Economic Forum. But the topics that are discussed there are about tokenization. They're about stablecoins. Nobody wants to talk about Bitcoin. Or when they talk about Bitcoin, it's in a bit of a negative sense, right? In a bit of a negative twist. So they like to talk about tokenization. They like to talk about stablecoins, but you cannot talk about all the other cool stuff that we do. DeFi, decentralized finance, you cannot mention that. So I think definitely AI is the hot thing now. Crypto is not. And crypto has its place, or Web3 has its place in World Economic Forum. Definitely, from my perspective, a lot less from the glory days of 2018.
Amazing information, Anton. Thank you very much.
Yes. Maybe I can ask one question and then I'll try to answer it, because usually people ask me all this time, Anton, can you get me an invitation to World Economic Forum? And let me tell you honestly, I myself cannot do that usually, but then usually people ask, how can I get invited, right? So the easiest practical way how you can get invited is that you know someone who is very close to World Economic Forum, and then they extend an invitation for you because you are going to be part of a meeting or a part of an event there, or you're going to speak there, or you're going to be on a panel or giving a keynote or some concept of that, right? And this is how I was invited actually each time, right? So somebody wanted me to be there to give a speech or to talk on a panel or something, and then I would get an invitation. So in practical sense, this is what I would recommend to people. Do you have in what industry you are? Is your industry represented well at World Economic Forum? Do you know who is somebody who is going there maybe to present or has an event or something? Contact that person and say, can you invite me, right? To be a part of the event or to speak or something. And they can invite you. And now just to tell you, like, invitation to World Economic Forum, the way I described it, doesn't cost any money. You pay the processing fee. I told you they do kind of like a background check. This is like, there's a fee attached to that. But there is no, like, if somebody tells you, I can invite you to World Economic Forum, but it costs $10,000, they're not selling you an invitation. They're selling you their event or something of that sort. And that's the cost. But I never paid to go to World Economic Forum. I pay, there was like this small fee, but whatever. I don't remember how much it was. But you don't pay 10 grand to go there.
So guys, if you need an invitation, contact my friend Anton.
Thank you very much, Farouk, for digging the grave for me.
No, just kidding. Amazing. Thank you very much, guys. If you have any questions about crypto, about World Economic Forum, drop them below. we'll go through and try to answer that. Thank you very much, Anton. Really amazing, great information about World Economic
Now,
Forum.
everybody to World Economic Forum now, at least for next year. What do you think, Farouk? At least
Amazing.
you need to be there. You're a leader in Switzerland. You should say something there.
Yeah, let's see when I'm going to join.
The very bit diplomatic answer. Awesome. Cool. Thank you.
Awesome. See you next time.
See ya.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.